Great moment. I'm Jean Kuhn, your host, and today we're going to be talking about what path are you taking? As an entrepreneur, there's so many paths to take, and when do you find that path? And what do you do when you get there? And how do you know it's the right path? So today, my guest is Zack Lemear, and did I say that correctly, Lemear?
Nope. It's okay.
Okay,
No one does. It's Lemear.
Lemear. I'm sorry. So let me start that over. Right. There is no cut. There is no cut in this, so it
This is
is what it
live.
is, right? It's live and it's going. So, Zack Lemear is here today to share his story of rising from despair to triumph. And Zack, welcome and thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate the time.
So, the one thing I always like to start with is what is your milk crate moment?
Well, as we talked about a little bit already, I've had many, but I'll start with I guess I'll start at the beginning because it's the most pivotal.
Okay.
Um, so I come from a broken beginning, and what I mean by that is my mother was a ninth grade dropout, never knew my dad. I've moved 80 times in my life, and I'm 43, and I've never left the state. So I went to 5 junior highs in 2 years. I've moved around a lot of disruption in my life. I was in and out of the foster care system since I was 8. Never really had any parents. Um, I had some guardians, but I never really had any parents where there was any consequence of any kind. Um, and so I got in a lot of trouble. I was in group homes and all these other things. And considering that the only thing I'd ever seen in my life was drug abuse, addiction, just failure, generational cycles, complacency, excuses. For some reason, some way, I stayed so far away from all of the drugs and all the alcohol. But I had no good examples or role models to show me the way. And so the last quarter of the last year of high school, last minute, I decided, hey, you know what? Maybe I should go to college. Maybe I should break these generational cycles. Maybe I should be the difference that I don't see. Um, and honestly, I had played around. I always loved art. Um, and so I was thinking to myself, what else am I good at? I was good at sales. I was good at marketing things. And I had some sort of a business mindset. And I was like, also, where's art going to be profitable? There's probably never going to be a time where no one's going to need ads. So I went into graphic design. But anyway, the point is I started this thing and I said, you know what, I'm going to try and go to school. So I didn't have good grades. I didn't have extracurriculars. I didn't have any money. I didn't have anything. So I got into a couple of schools, one of which was a local state school that actually gave me a free ride. They gave me all 4 years paid plus room and board plus work study. And I passed it up. I gave it away. This is what I'm talking about. Pivotal moments. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I had a thought. I was like, I see two roads in front of me. I see the road where it's full of complacency. Oh, I was also 300 pounds at the time. I saw nothing but complacency and excuses and generational cycles and people not being able to get out of their own way and a lifetime of hardship that I already had lived double just being around there and growing up in it. And I saw the other road, which was scary and unknown and foreign. And it was going to require all of me because no one else was going to come and save me. I had to do it myself. And so I knew it was going to take consistency. It was going to take focus. It was going to take discipline. Things that I didn't have as an 18-year-old, okay, who was more about breaking the rules than it was following them at the time. And so this is what happened. I ended up getting accepted into a private school out of state. That was really nice. Endicott College.
Well, I want to stop for just a minute before you go on because I'm still thinking about you had an opportunity, you had a scholarship, you had a full ride. It sounds like
Yes.
everything included, and you gave it up. Why? So why did you give that up, and when did you give that up?
I gave it up probably the second day that I knew about it, and I wrote him a letter because I didn't have a computer. I wrote it by hand. Um, and I said, no, thank you. And the reason why I gave it up is because of this. I saw those two roads in front of me.
Okay.
Now, that school was a party school. That school was not something I was proud of. That was school that didn't have the programs that I wanted. And because I bounced around so much, I was behind because I was either catching up to some other curriculum or trying to fit into something else because I was moving around so often.
Hmm.
Um, and so I knew in the end, I wanted to go to a place that I was proud of. And I never went to school for the education, also. I never really valued school. I still don't. I think school is not the place for smart people. Lots of smart people go there, but it's not where they're made. And school is just a means to an end. I went to school for the network. I went to school and I chose the school that I chose because I knew that in order for me to be the person that I wanted to be, I had to entrench myself into a community filled with them. And it wasn't going to happen at the state school where they were known more for parties and and police escorts than they were known for anything else.
Okay.
So I made a choice. Do I want to take the free ride or do I want to go on this other one, which was $25,000 a year, I think, at the time?
Okay.
So this is how I got in. I mean, I got in because I don't know how I got in because I didn't even have a portfolio because back then you had to take your own photos and put them into slides. I mean, it was very expensive. So I had no resources, nothing. So I remember this very vividly. I had a legal pad. It was a yellow one. And I just had my blue pen. It wasn't even black pen on white paper. And I wrote to the bursar's office over and over again. I wrote, this is how much I can make. Live, live, baby.
Live.
Uh, this is how much I can make. This is how much I have. And this is how much I need. I'd really like to go to your school. Can you help me out? And they'd send me back. I'd wait weeks and they'd send me back a letter saying, this is how much we can give you. And it wasn't enough. And I said, I'd go back and I'd write right back on that yellow pad. I can remember it like it was yesterday. This is how much I need. This is how much I can actually work in class. And I had 3 jobs and 6 classes. And this is how much I need. I'd really like to go to Endicott. And I did that like 4 or 5 times. And they kept inching their way back up. And I didn't get any grants. I got subsidized and unsubsidized loans. I'm still paying off those loans.
Okay.
But I'll tell you right now, it was what I needed to adjust the trajectory of my life and my path. It was what I needed to entrench myself in a surrounding of people that lived in abundance and lived the life that I dreamed to live, but took it for granted. But that was challenging.
Mhm.
Going into a place where I had nothing and I had to pay for everything and they had everything given to them and they just squandered it and just didn't appreciate it. It was tough. It was tough.
Sure.
But I chose that road because, again, it was about the network. I knew that if I was going to make anything of myself in this, I'm going to want to have a group of people around me that are of high value because
Mhm.
it's not about what you know, it's who you know. And I knew that early. And still, even to this day, people that I can go back to my alma mater and I can leverage that resource much
Right.
better than that state school. And I'm telling you right now, they've increased their value like tenfold since I was there 20 years ago or so. Oh my gosh, 21 years ago now. So yeah, so that's the thing. I chose. I somehow like almost I made a commitment to myself, and I also made a commitment. I said, you know what? I see all these people flip flopping majors with it because they don't understand what's at stake, and they don't really have anything at stake. There might be the 5th, 6th, 7th generation going. I'm the first. I'm breaking ground here. I'm the one that is going to set the example for every future generation, and I'm doing it right. And I don't, and one day I want to get on stages and I want to talk to these people, and I want to say, look, it's not because I'm special. It's not because I had money. It's not because I had any resource at all. If anything, I had none. And I still was able to do it. Is it because I'm extraordinary? No. Is it because I have more intelligence than you? Nope. Is it because I won a lottery? No, it is not. It's because of one thing. I wanted it bad enough and I was willing to do the work every single day, no matter what, every single day. And I'm still doing the work consistently over and over and over again. And that's what got me here. That's what got me past all of that. But I mean, there's a whole 6-hour story in just how I got to that point of making that decision. But that was that first fork. And I had been with somebody for since I was 15 at the time, and I was with that was my first wife for 20 years, and we went to Endicott together, and a whole bunch of other things. And so again, it was like I was entrenching myself in the places that I needed to be to become the person that I wanted to be. You know, it's believe it to achieve it. It's fake it till you make it. It's practice until it's real. Every single day. And I'm a big believer now in my later years in manifesting, visualizing, the programming of your neural pathways in your subconscious. And I practice that every day, every single day. Money, I understand that money comes to me frequently, easily, and abundantly. I say that 3 times in the day, in the morning and at night. And I'll tell you right now, you'd be so surprised where money comes from. It just flies out of nowhere. I'm not even expecting it. And it's like, it stacks up. And every day, I mean, the other day I was at a conference and I got a random call for a business that I just closed. They found me somewhere on Google. They came over once the day after I came back, and I got $250 cash for selling products I was going to throw away.
Wow. Wow. I do believe that because, I think you said something really interesting. It's like you wanted it more than anybody else, right? That's the reason that people get ahead is they want it more. And you're 100% right, but there's so much more to that. It's because it's getting up every day and doing the work, and every single person could have what you have. Every single person could have what I have, right? If they want to do the work that we've done in order to get to where they want to be, right? And it's so interesting to me to see people who I won't say any names, although I know he's never going to hear this, but my husband has a cousin who's just about the same age as him, and he was so excited, like so excited to be turning 65 so he could retire, right? And I'm like, retire? Are you kidding me? I still feel like I'm just getting started, right? Oh my gosh. So how long have you been an entrepreneur, Zach?
Legally, like the first legal business that I had was, I would say 2019.
Okay, so that's not that long. That's not that long to
Oh
be.
no, sorry, not 2019. Sorry, 1999. I'm thinking of.
Oh,
I'm sorry. I'm like 2019. What are you talking about? No, this is my
okay, well,
10th.
that might be 20 years difference, right?
Yeah, I mean, I started my agency Viva La Pixel in 2021. Oh, geez, why do I keep saying that? 2001. We
Okay,
got a 20-year gap here. Right out of college, when or right like on the cusp of leaving college, I started it. Um,
very cool.
but I've had a bunch of different businesses. I had a CBD business. I had a t-shirt business. I had a restaurant listing advertising business. I've had a branding business. I've had a lot of businesses. But yeah, just going back, if we're still talking about that
Yeah,
before moving
we
forward.
are, and I do want you to pivot back into, where go back because I know you wanted to share another milk crate moment there too. So let's kind of keep going. But I just thought it was interesting, and I wanted to talk about it for a minute, is that this is available to 100% of the people out there. Everything that you have is available to every single person if they want it badly enough.
100%. And the thing is I've got an incredible confidence in myself because of the things that I've proven to myself
Mhm.
through doing the hard things,
Yeah.
right? Like I said, I used to be 300 pounds. That's true. And I lost 100 pounds right before college. And I'll tell you right now, going to college, it was like nobody even saw me as overweight ever. And it was weird because that was my identity
Mm.
for the longest time. And it was just a weird thing. But anyway,
Yeah.
again, and that was the same thing. It was consistent, embracing the suck and doing the hard things and eating the shit sandwich every single day because the shit sandwich leads to the golden rainbow at the end. And I lost, and I ended up getting married to this woman that I was talking about that I had gone to college with, right? And
Mhm.
then she, after 20 years and after all of our major memories basically being together, for the last 20 years, decided to have secret relationships online and cheat for months and months and months. And we had 2 kids, we had a house, and then decided to destroy everything and just break it all apart into pieces. And that's when I lost everything. Now here's the thing. This is another very pivotal moment. I worked really hard to get out of the gutter. And then I worked really extra hard to pay my way through a private out-of-state school when I gave away a free in-state school.
Hmm.
And then I built businesses and I got out of and I destroyed generational cycles, and I had babies that will never know the trouble that I ever will never, ever understand it.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing and a bad thing in some
Yeah.
cases. I think they need a little context sometimes. But, um, and the thing is because I didn't have any family, all my family was hers. So 2 weeks before she told me this, I lost my job.
Oh,
Okay. And this was probably 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. I had been laid off. Okay. And then I literally lived a country music Western song. I lost my best friend, my wife, my house, my family, my kids, my dogs, everything, because everyone sided with her in money, even though she was completely open and honest about all the heinous things that she had done, and just with such cold callousness destroyed me. And
yeah.
it was the last thing that I was expecting. It was the last thing in the world that I was expecting to happen, and the worst possible thing that could have ever happened. The last thing I wanted and the thing I worked my entire life to prevent was a broken home for my children.
Hmm.
Now she has a lot of money and she had took all the rest of it. So they live in excellent privilege. They will never know. They've got more money for their college fund now than I did, and even times five, right? Like each. All they have to do is just be accepted at this point.
Yeah.
Um,
So how did that impact your businesses when, like, you're just trolling along and you're like, hey, life is good, right? Life is good, things are going well, and then boom, like that is literally like you ran into a concrete wall. How did that impact your business then?
oh yeah, hold on. Let me take a step back.
Okay.
Um, Good question. But let me take a step back. I had my main business, which was Viva La Pixel, and it was my agency, and I had interns and a bunch of people. But what happened was it turned into me chasing money and managing my people and not doing the thing that I loved. And now, if anyone in the audience, or if you have ever read the E Myth,
I That book changed my life.
yeah, I mean, it's about the entrepreneurial myth, right? And so I was too much. They talk about the CEO, or the entrepreneur, and then they talk about the technician. And the technician is the one who's the craftsman that cares less about running the business and just wants to do the thing. And
Right.
that's how I started, and that's how most people start.
Hmm.
And when I lost, um, ha, really funny. That is one of my interns, Mark McCarthy. Yes, you were.
That's
That's
awesome.
really funny that you're listening to this right now. That's excellent. Um, that's funny. Okay. Anyway, I'm sorry. Where that just totally
So we
distracted
were
me. Where was I?
I was saying, how did that impact your business? And you
Oh,
said,
okay. So I just basically I was just chasing money and doing other things, and um, I didn't want it anymore. And so again, I had to find two. It was another path. I was like, okay, at at a certain point in my business, if it's not doing this exact thing, then I'm going to sell all the assets. And I put a hard line in the sand because I was starting a new family, and I was like, it's eating up my life in things that are not fulfilling me. And that is no longer something that I want to do. Um, and so I made that choice, and it did not meet the requirement. And so I sold the assets, and I could have sold more, but I was too inexperienced in that layer of
mhm,
business. So I missed some opportunities there. But then I had the trouble of, okay, the last 10 years of my life, I've been working for myself right out of college. I've got nothing really on my resume but my own work. Now I got to find a way in. And it took me 8 months to find a new job. And so I did. And then I kind of worked for the private sector for a little while. And I did user experience and other things um, that were something that I really liked. And so I ended up actually getting rid of that business. And then when the divorce happened, I had just lost the job. And so now I was living in my car, and it was 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, and it was terrible. It was the worst possible thing that could have ever happened to me. But it was also the greatest thing because that relationship was holding me back. I had no business committing to something that long at 15. And not being able to spread my wings and experience relationships in college really stunted my growth as a person in relationships. And I think that was part of the reason why this relationship didn't work. We were too young and immature because we didn't allow each other to grow. Anyway, a lot of things going on. Okay. So I lost everything and I had to start over. Again, I lost all my money, all my support system, my kids. I was living in my car. Damn it. I worked so hard to get back here. And it was all taken in a swoop from the person that I trusted the most. I mean, talk about devastation.
Sure.
Triggering every possible nightmare I could have ever thought of. And I did not take it well. I wish I could say that I took it like a champ and I just walked away and I got a new job and I started a new business, but I did not. It took me years of all kinds of things. And I had actually gained a lot of weight back. I was about 265 at that point. And then I lost another 80 pounds because, and that the second time I did, it was not through the healthy way. I joked around saying it was the crippling depression diet. Try it today. But it was true. And it really helped shed some pounds. But after a while, the point is that I couldn't not be an entrepreneur. It's in my blood. So it kept calling to me. And as I got out of a mess of things and I started a new relationship, which I got married again, I started a CBD business. And I wanted to go all high level and I wanted to make sure that it was never in a smoke shop or a gas station. And I started it during COVID. It was like, what could I do that's possibly the hardest thing ever? Cannabis and COVID. Perfect. Let's go. Oh, and start your own brand. Don't even lean on somebody else's. Just go from zero. And so I did. And I got that for 5 years and I scaled that up about 20x. It wasn't enough because it's a tricky business. But once again, I got divorced because I was just chose the wrong person this time. To the point where like their parents apologized to me on her behalf, which was helpful for me to feel like it wasn't me all the time. That was just not acceptable to any female on this planet. So anyway, so another devastation. I lost another thing, and I still continued to find a way. Now I chose a product business that time because I knew the service business would be too leaning on me. And that way, if any devastation or any disruption in my still unstable life happened, I would be able to still maintain it. And it was true because it was kind of automated at a certain point. Now, that being said, after the second divorce and devastation and losing everything and losing a second house, oh man, I learned my lessons. I decided to, because again, I couldn't stay out of business, right? I'm too entrepreneurial and I got too many ideas. So I started another business. It was a brand strategy business because I had done all these things. I'd sat in all the seats and there's no shortage of people doing all that work, doing the web design work, doing the graphic design work. But there is a huge shortage of people who know how to plan and strategize the work and qualify and quantify the work so that it's actually work that does something. And it's not just throwing something at the wall and hoping that it sticks. It's strategic, it's foundational. It's all the things that most marketing places don't want to do because it's not the pretty fun thing. And I made it a Lego brick because I found a gap in the industry and I filled it. And that was a different business. That was called Zack Brands You. Now take another quick step back. Another thing about coming from broken beginnings, right? And again, just to reiterate the importance and the significance of how far I tried to come and how devastating that these losses were. My brother, who had lived with me for a number of years, and my mom, he was younger by about 4 years, had been secretly drinking himself to death, and no one knew it. And he moved in Florida, and I just started my master's program because after this divorce, I'm like, I needed something to anchor myself. I needed something that no matter what was constant and consistent because I was moving around again all the time and I couldn't find peace in my life, no matter where I tried to find it. So I went back to work on myself and I took the time to improve myself and I started there and I needed an anchor. But anyway, in the first 2 weeks of that, I get a call from his wife saying he's really, really sick. And I'm like thinking, oh man, do I need to go down there? I don't have any money right now because I just lost it all again in another divorce, which was very destructive, even more destructive than the first one. I didn't even know that was possible. And so long story short, I had to go down there, and it cost about $4,000 to do it, um, which I just had to charge it all. And we didn't know he was gonna die, but he had gone in and out of the hospital. He couldn't stay off of the ventilator, and basically what happened was his lungs shut down, his kidney shut down, his liver shut down. He had jaundice. He had intubator in his mouth, and he had 21 IVs.
Mm.
And I sat there for a week, and we did everything we possibly could. And I'm sitting here, and again, I'm trying to go back to school, and I'm trying to do that at the same time because there's no bereavement because he wasn't passed yet.
Yeah.
So the thing about alcohol, and if you want to get a a new kidney or something, is that you have to prove that you can stay off of alcohol for a certain amount of time and not be an alcoholic to be qualified for a new thing. He couldn't stay off of an intubator tube for 2 minutes.
Mm.
And so now it became down, because it was the only family he had was basically me and his wife, because we come from the same place. And no one showed up for him but me. And I had to make the decision to pull the plug because it was the only humane thing to do, because he could not live. And it was just like, there was no point. And so I was holding him in my arms while he died, coughing blood up on my shirt. And I just held him, and I told him that I loved him and that it was okay for him to let go. And that, I promised him, and this was that other crossroads. I made a promise to him. I worked so hard, and I might tear up a little bit here. I worked so hard to break these generational cycles, and it broke my heart that he couldn't do it.
Sure.
And it broke my heart that he had to secretly do that. And he was the nicest person. He had so many friends, no family, but so many friends. And he was the better man. And I miss him every second of every day. And I think about him every day. And this happened a long time ago. Maybe not, it was like 2018 is when it happened. And I made a promise to him on his deathbed that I would not waste a second of my life that he had robbed from him, because it was gifted to me. And now I'm going to live a life that's twice as great for both of us, because he deserves it. He deserved it more than anyone I could ever imagine, anyone. And it was hard again. And now I had to go back after that into the chaos that I was already coming back to, still having my kids and going to a master's degree and still trying to work full time and the whole thing, and still running a business and starting a business from scratch. And it's about, I guess it's always been about making a promise to myself. Because I found out that at the end of the day, when I come up short, it's not because anyone took anything from me. It's always because I gave it all away.
Yeah. Or let it go.
And I was wondering why I give so much to people and I always had nothing to show for it. And it was because I literally gave it all away, and I was giving from my cup. I never gave a chance for myself to overflow into the saucer. And so it put me on a new path, which is the path I'm on now, which is the path of self-discovery, self-repair, self-healing, self-development. And I feel like I'm unstoppable because I've lost 100 pounds the hard way. I've put myself through school twice. I've held my brother in my arms and had him pass away in my arms and had to make that decision. I've had to deal with foster homes and group homes and the disruption of everything, and double divorces and losing my children and everything you can think of. And I overcame it over and over and over and over and over and over and this is why. Because I refuse to be defeated. I just flat out won't do it. There's always a way if you want it bad enough. And to this day, and this breaks my heart, to this day, I still try to invite a certain amount of my blood relatives into my life, very few and far between, that I think that aren't going to just be toxic. And they choose electively and consciously to repeat the cycles.
Yeah.
I've had conversations with them in my kitchen, trying to inspire them. Look, I didn't do anything that you can't do. I'm the only one who's ever made it out of every relative. I'm the only one. And you can do this too. And they looked me right in my face and said, I guess I just don't want it bad enough. I can't even understand the mindset. You Everything is hard. Living in poverty and living a shit life is hard. Living an excellent life and working out every day and getting up at 4:30 like I do every day and not breaking the chain and making commitments and putting hard boundaries in your relationships and doing the hard things and and delaying gratification, that's hard too. But I tell you right now, the benefits way outweigh the hard. And everyone has an opportunity to choose a path, and everyone has an opportunity to choose a hard. And it makes zero sense to me why they're so content and complacent and just committed to staying in the sucky part of the hard.
Because they haven't grown into it. You grew into it because you wanted it. Because you can't change like that if you don't, you have to grow into that. So you chose to grow into it.
It is a choice. It is a choice. And it is a choice every single day. Every day, I've got what I call the don't wannas in my head. They're the voices that try to keep you from succeeding. Like, and if it's for working out, it's, oh, I don't want to get up right now. It's dark and I'm comfortable and I'm cold and I'm tired and I'm sore and I don't give a shit. You're not invited. You're not invited to this conversation, don't wannas. And I neglect those don't wannas so that I can nurture the champion inside me. And I believe that there's nothing that I can't accomplish. I believe it. I believe it like I believe in gravity because I've done it over and over and over again despite every possible odd. Did you know that there's 3% of every foster kid with a free ride will go to college and 1% of that 3 will actually graduate if they get it paid for? I don't even know where I land in the thing. I gave away the free ride and I paid my own way and I still graduated and I went back second time. And I found out twice later on when it was too late that I had a learning disability that I didn't even know about, which made perfect sense now in some of the struggles. But all of this has led me to this today, right? All of this has led me to this today. And it's an amalgamation and it's an aggregation of all the small sucky things that you have to do to get the good things. I live a wonderful life. I've got amazing children that are on an unbelievable path that I don't even understand how they could ever slip into a situation where they would come from where I came from. And I don't understand how I didn't fall into it myself when I was only surrounded by drugs and abuse and bad examples. And I just chose. I didn't drink. I didn't even drink a lick of alcohol until I was about 20 and a half. That was my first time I sipped a beer because I just wouldn't even do it. Never smoked a cigarette. Nope, I won't do it. I just have this blind like conviction that I just refuse defeat. And I had an opportunity to be adopted once. And I chose not to be adopted because I'm not going to let the Lemear name go down in flames. Because for some reason, my last name, if you guys look it up, Lemear, there's 20 people in the United States that have this last name, and I know them all. I have no way to actually go back in my heritage and find out who I am because I also don't know my blood father. So I'm like, okay, this is already unique. People already misspell it over and over. They mispronounce it over and over. And it's okay. It's just how it is. But I'm not going to just, I want the Lemear name to be known for something more than just the most late fees at the library and the most like egregious offenses in town and the most drunks. And you know what I'm saying? Like, and I chose to stand up and literally fist fight my way from the gutter to where I am today. And anyone who's listening right now can do the same thing. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I didn't have anything that you don't have. I am the shining example of what's possible. And I'm not special. I just wanted it bad enough. And I was willing to do the work consistently. I chose one major and I stuck with it. I wasn't going to flip-flop. I was graphic design and I stuck to it. And then I pivoted off of that thing. And I pivot off of that. And I pivot off of that. And that's going to segue nicely into Pivot, the newest business. So at the end, I started this Lego brick brand strategy business because I wanted to do, eventually I just want to walk and talk. I want to inspire people. I want to teach people. I want to show people what's possible because especially people from where I'm from, they never get a chance to see somebody get out and do something of meaning and quality. right? And I realized long ago that if I'm going to lead anyone, I have to lead myself. And I'm not perfect. I fail all the time, but I just refuse defeat. I fail often and I learn so much, but I refuse defeat. I flat out refuse defeat. And I'm cognizant of the traps. Like I said, the don't wannas. And the don't wannas get smarter and they try to trick me because they turn into the, well, I want to do this instead, or I don't have to. You're still there. I see you hiding don't wannas. I see you in there trying to tell me not to be a champion. I don't think so. I don't think so. I'm a champion. And there's no way that I'm going to let the time that I was gifted go to waste. There's no way that I'm not going to be the example when nobody's looking. Be the example, especially when nobody's looking.
Right. Well, let's pivot. Let's pivot over into pivot. Let's pivot to pivot.
Okay. So with this last business, the brand strategy business,
yeah,
I would just do some strategy and give them a plan and then let them go to any place that they want to go. They ended up crisscrossing a lot with Pivot, who was somebody else I knew from another networking group.
Mm-hmm.
And we were doing the same work twice. I was getting the first client first, and then I was doing the work, and then he was getting the client again, and he was doing the work. And I'm like, why are we not the same company? Because now I can have because I really like the work that they did and the culture that they had. And I said, let's merge. So this is my first merger. So it took us a year and a half. And again, and I took this off of something where this all started from, I want to do a walk and talk model eventually. Mm-hmm. And so I thought brand strategy, I'm just kind of talking and I'm helping people and I'm coaching. And then I walk and they're executing.
Right.
And so I forgot where I was going with this. So, sorry, I was looking at the client at the notes and it distracted me.
You want me to close that so that it's not distracting?
Yes, please.
Okay, sure.
I love the comments and I will
Thank you.
I've got ADD and that's already bad enough.
Right. So you pivoted over, you merged with this other company to form Pivot Creative.
Right. So now that everything that I do can be executed in-house and I don't have to worry that they're going through some Russian roulette place that might execute it poorly. And I'm more impact driven than I am income driven, and I've got a huge commitment to my craft. So I found a way, and so we went through, and it was interesting because I didn't think anybody would pay me to speak. I didn't think anybody would pay me to talk. I think I must have had so many conversations about, well, I'm not going to start this business. You're really going to pay me this much money just to talk to you. But the thing is the universe kept showing me signs. People kept coming up to me and reaching out to me and asking me for my advice. And they didn't even know me as the branding guy yet. They knew me as a CBD guy through my network. And they just saw the prowess of the branding through my own products that they kept asking me questions. And I'm like, well, maybe this is something. And now it's turning into something where I'm speaking all over the place and I'm getting on podcasts and I'm really starting to build an audience because I really just want to inspire people. I just want people I want someone to come to a talk that I'm having and leave feeling like they can literally fly because that's how lifted they are, because they never saw somebody who did it before, despite all of the odds. And so that is another piece of this pivot. But Pivot is a full service branding and marketing agency. Mm-hmm. And we have 7 full-time employees. We've got at least 7 part-time. We do a lot of great work. We work a lot with nonprofits. We work a lot with e-commerce. We work a lot with the MSP space. But what we do that's different than most other agencies is that we created a product that fills that gap, right? It's called the Focus 360. And most businesses will start without really knowing where they stand as a company, where they stand in the industry, where they stand, and how to communicate that, right? And so we built this out. The brand compass is your purpose, your vision, your mission, your core values, and statements. And the thing is this is not your run-of-the-mill practice, right? I question every answer. Don't tell me trust and integrity. Show me how that echoes in every essence of your business. Because if these core values are not something you can hire and fire against, if they're not unflappable, if they're not 10 commandments level solid, they're not your core values. They're your beliefs that can be influenced, and they don't belong there. Because this is what attracts the leadership, the talent, the ideal clients. It all starts here. And then we figure out where you stand in the market, and we create personas with psychological archetypes. It's not enough just to know who they are. You got to know how they think and feel and what they need.
Mhm.
And then we create some language so you know how to communicate it in a way that's not repetitive and it's engaging to those people. So that's what we do that's different. And we white label that service into a lot of other agencies because they don't want to do it. Because to be frank, it sucks. It's hard. It's
Yeah.
drudgery. And it's not pictures and it's not drawing and it's not colors. It's all the things that should come before those things because those colors are emotionally tied. And you've got to have competitive analysis to make sure that you're not positioning yourself incorrectly in the market and making huge mistakes. Like Pepsi could never compete against Coke with red, even though red is psychologically a better color, but they had to choose blue and they had to choose a different market or else they never would have broken in. And now they're still consistently number two because of what they've done and what they've chosen to do.
Mhm.
And all of that is rooted in the work that we do. But we can execute everything else, right? We do apps and we do social media and we do management and we're HubSpot partners and the whole thing. We're full service. Um,
Well, you put your LinkedIn profile right here so people can reach out to you. And I'll have you come back and we'll talk more another day. But here's what I need to leave with today is, Zack, what's the what's the best piece of business advice you can leave a small solopreneur or emerging entrepreneur that they need to know in order to get to where you're at?
the first one that comes to mind is dream big, but do the research. Don't limit yourself by what you think you can do. Dream huge, but do the research. When I did my CBD business, I didn't just jump in and say, hey, this is trendy. I actually did tons of work and tons of research. And I actually worked through a company that I was working for that was in the e-commerce business, so I could learn how both sides of that worked. And then I actually sold CBD products in their store that weren't mine to figure out what attracted the people from print ads. What questions were they asking in the store? What rebuttals were they giving me? And when I figured it out, and then I knew how to position myself in the market. And that's why I chose not to be in a smoke shop or a gas station, because that's what made me trustworthy.
So that's really interesting, and oh man, I want to talk about that, but we've really gone on a long time today. But because that doesn't seem like for a solo entrepreneur, that does not seem like a strategy that they might be able to do because they're really looking to like, I'm starting a business and I need to make some money, damn it, right? So we don't have the time to research everything out to the point where it sounds like you've done that.
You don't have to research it exhaustively, but don't start a business because you need to make some money. That's the worst thing you can do. Start a business because there's a problem that you can solve. Because the you trying to make some money, you're always going to be approaching this from a lack mindset. And how can I make money knowing what I know, selling what I know right now, instead of how can I surround myself by the people or with people that know more than me to do the thing that fills the gap and solves the problem that will be more sustainable long term. And it's not as fun. I'm going to tell you. And this is the
Yeah.
thing: these small businesses, they're more the technician, and they want to do the thing, right? And that's okay. But you have to understand the difference between a hobby and a business.
Oh,
If
100%.
if you're working, like, do you want a self-fulfilling job or self-sustaining business? You have to ask yourself those questions because you can have either one. You just need to know what you're doing and what you're getting into so you don't take business risks on a job you've created for yourself.
I'm going to only partly agree with you because I have been the entrepreneur who climbed to that high up of the highest mountain and jumped off, knowing that if I did the work, the parachute would catch me, right? So without the exhaustive thing, so that's you are that person who came up, and I'm not saying we came up the same way, but I'm saying you came up from what's the word I'm looking for? You came up knowing that you had to choose a different life, right? I came up knowing that there's so many things out there, and listen, my grandfather came from Greece, and what do you think the first thing he did when he got here was?
Start a business, probably.
Started a restaurant, a Greek restaurant, right? I literally have that in my DNA, right? So for me, being an entrepreneur has always been like, but I agree with you that you should have a problem. You should know the problem that you're going to solve for people. I agree with you 100% there. But I do see a lot of people do that, and including myself, that it's like I've got a solution. I'm going to help people with that, right? but don't do the research. So, and
But just
honest,
qualify it a little bit, right? Like get some information from people that aren't your
yeah.
friends and family,
Yeah,
right?
oh,
Like,
yes,
and
because your
ask the
family
right
and friends are not
questions.
your ideal clients.
And here's the biggest thing you can do. Don't think that a logo is a brand because it is not. And
Yes,
don't waste a ton of time and money building a logo and forgetting to build a brand around it, because a brand is the promises you keep consistently, not even the ones that you make. It's the
love it.
ones that you keep. And if you have a crappy logo and you keep a promise, you can still have a glorious brand.
Yeah. Well, I would love to have you come back another time and let's continue this conversation because it has been it's been very thought provoking. And I think a lot of people listen, we've had 3 people on, we had 4 at one point, just that I could see here, on live with us the entire time. Let me just tell you, that has never happened before. So
Wow, really?
you, my friend, are an inspiring person that they want to hear from. So I would love to have you come back and
Well,
talk
thank you.
another
I'd love to be back anytime.
time.
And I appreciate all the people giving me some love in the comments. And I appreciate Mark, you coming back. I haven't seen him since, gosh, 2004 or something. I don't even know. But yeah, it's funny. It's funny. Um, what a funny thing that just pop up in the comments that I
Yeah,
was an intern at Viva La Pixel.
yeah. So, Mark, Zach, have a wonderful day, and thank you so much for being here. And I look forward to having you back. So, have a great day.
Thanks, Gene.